Hi, I'm back. So the other day I made the peach cobbler, and I mentioned in that video that I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of the box. I gave some to my mom. We've eaten some just as a side dish, but it's time to move these things along before they get any softer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some peach pie filling, which I'm going to can and save to use later on in the fall when we're cursing the cold weather. I won't be doing that, cursing the cold weather, just saying. Anyways, before we get started, let me assure you that yes, I realize this is a lot of work for a little bit of reward, but to me it's worth it. This is something that I really enjoy doing. It's hot, it's laborious, it's time consuming, but it always makes me think of those women from whom I came. My aunt used to have a huge canning kitchen out on her porch where she would go outside to do her canning. It wasn't unusual for women to have an old stove, wood burning stove or gas stove, either one, out in their wash shed, so that way they could do the canning out there without heating up the whole house. It wasn't uncommon at all for this to be kind of a community task, where you would have your family, the ladies in your family come over, your friends or neighbors. Everyone would bring their garden bounty or fruits that they picked off of their own trees. They'd come together and heat one kitchen up, just spend the day canning and sweating and talking and laughing and working with their hands. So for whatever reason, this brings me joy. It does. So I'm not saying y'all need to do this right away, but I will say if there's ever a zombie apocalypse, y'all are going to need me. Just saying. Start with my stovetop real quick, what I've got going. This is my bath canner. This this huge enameled pot, I only use this for my water bath canning. There's a difference between how you can things like jellies, jams, and pie fillings, and the way you would can things like like vegetables and meat and things like that. I do have a pressure canner. That's a whole different story. But right now, all you're going to need is a large pot for your water bath canning. I have a large pot here that I am going to be fixing my peaches in. And then back here on this little tiny burner, I've just got a little saucer pan with about an inch of water in it. Now, I also have my oven on, and it's set at 200 because we need to sterilize the jars. There's 1,000 ways to do that. I have 3-quart jars in here right now. And once this water comes up to a rolling boil, I'm going to boil those jars for 10 minutes. I've already, let's just make a motion sick. I've already washed those jars in hot soapy water, and now I am going to sterilize them in boiling water, rolling boiling water for 10 minutes. Once that 10 minutes is up, I'm going to stick them in a warm oven to keep them away from any flying food that might be occurring here. And also to keep them warm so that when I put the hot filling mix into the jars, it's not going to shatter that jar. So that's what's going on over here. The little saucer, what I'm going to use for this is that's just going to be very warm. It's actually on the burner that that my oven vents through. So with the oven on, that water is heating up, and I am going to put my panning lids in that water to keep them clean and to also slightly soften that sealing ring here. Never ever reuse these. Save your jars by all means, save your rings definitely, but these are a one-time shot just for food safety purposes. So let me throw these in here. I see this water is boiling, so let's get started to my next step. Okay, here are some of the things I'm going to be using today to make my peach pie filling. Sugar, definitely. I'm going to need about 3 cups of sugar. I have my canning materials here. If you can grab a couple of baking trays, you'll be really, really better off for it to help move jars around and back and forth, especially if you're doing a larger batch. Lemon juice is going to go in here. My peaches over there. This is something I can. So this is stuff I have on hand. This is a insulated rubber grabber to grab my hot jars. You're going to need a funnel to fill your jars. This is a magnetic wand to pull those lid tops out of the hot water, and then my canning ladle. Gosh, I love this thing. Also, this is my tool that I use to get the bubbles out. We'll go over that later. I've got some clean towels and rags ready to go, and then of course my rings. I've also got some ice cold water here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to blanch these peaches real quick to pop that skin off. So let me show you how that's done. Okay, so I'm going to be needing, for 3 quarts of peach filling, I think I'm going to be needing about 12 cups of sliced peaches. And I'm going to start out with this much. I think this will do it. And what I'll do is I'm going to cut real quick an X on the bottom of my peaches. And this is going to help allow that blanching to pop that skin off. So it's just on the bottom of your peach, just a little X. All right, let me finish this up and then we'll move on. Okay, so my pot here is at a good boil. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my peaches down in there for about 60 seconds. And I'm not going to crowd these puppies. It'll be done in a couple of batches here. So, one more. You're not cooking the peaches in here, you're just blanching them, and that way those skins are going to pop right off, and you're not going to have to spend a lot of time peeling and scraping and fighting all of that. So just 60 seconds here, which fortunately I can look at the timer here on my video and tell what I'm doing. And I've changed bowls out here. I'm going to pop them into my ice water. Alrighty, that's about good enough. So they go straight from the boiling water into the ice water. Alrighty, now I'll put the lid back on that. It's only going to take a few seconds, and that'll come back up to a boil, and then I'll do the rest with I'll do that again with the rest of my peaches. Okay, my peaches are blanched, and now I need to peel these and slice these. If you hear a bit of a drumming noise, my large bath canner here is really heating up, and you can just start hearing the jars shake around in there. I'm going to do this. I'm still waiting on that 10 minutes, so let's go ahead and do this, and let me see if I can show you. So after blanching them, these skins come right off just like that, and you have a nice beautiful peach left here to slice away from the stone. Again, these are pretty much a freestone type peach. These Glow Havens were. Those stone peaches, they're a bit of a booger to slice up this particular way. So, and then there's my peaches. Just blanching those skins makes this so much easier and quicker too in the long run. So peeling my skin off. If you have chickens, they would love these skins. If you have a compost bin, well, you know what to do with that. I'm just going to I'll end up taking these stones and skins and throwing them in my yard waste container. Our city takes all of the yard waste that it collects and composts it and turns it into beautiful, beautiful soil to use in our parks and for scenery, landscaping, like if our boulevards have a median down the middle of it, they plant the flowers and stuff to kind of make the city beautiful, but it also helps trap the rainwater too. So this will go into my yard waste bin so that the city can use it to compost, since I don't have the need or the space for all of that myself. Okay, and one more real quick, just showing you again when those skins are just slipping right off. And then, me just being me, I'm just slicing them right on the stone. Work smarter, not harder. Because this isn't hard work already. Oh my goodness. It is to laugh. Okay, so if you guys are wanting to start out canning and making your own jelly and that, the most expensive part of it is the startup. You need a water bath canner. You're going to need jars and rings and lids, and that's going to be the most expensive part of it. Always use canning jars. Don't tempt fate and use an old spaghetti sauce jar or something like that. Get you some regular canning jars. Check your local thrift stores, yard sales, estate sales. That's a great place to just lay in some of your basic supplies, like the canners and that. Any store, even the grocery stores, will carry your things that you have to get repeat purchases, like the jar lids and that. But it's really well worth it. There's something that connects you to your past and kind of reminds you of the type of stock that you came from to begin with. Because as women, damn, we are tough. Let me just tell you that. Okay, let me go ahead and finish slicing my peaches. I'm going to end up with, I need 12 cups altogether, so we'll see you here when we have to go on to the next step. Okay, so as you can see, my canning water has come to a full boil. This is the point where you want to start counting 10 minutes to sterilize your jars. You can also sterilize your jars in the dishwasher. If you're going to do a big batch of jelly, or you plan on doing a lot of canning, go ahead and just put all your jars and your rings in the dishwasher, run them on a hot Stericycle, and then just leave them in there until you're ready to use them. As long as they're still a little warm, they'll be fine in there. So that's a little helpful hint too. But I've only got 3 jars. I'm not running a whole wash cycle for just 3 jars. So this is going to be in there another 8 minutes, and then we'll be able to start making our filling. Okay, my jars are sterile, so let's go ahead and get them in the oven to keep them warm. Invest, if you want to do this for your family, for fun, for prep work, I don't care why you do it, I just encourage you to do it. Invest in a good set of lifting tongs, your jar tongs. They've got cheap ones. If you're just starting out, those are good enough, but since I do this quite a bit, these I love. I got me a little like high dollar one. I think I paid maybe $8 for that. Woo! Big spender. Okay, remember, that's boiling water, so you don't really want to touch that with your fingers. I'm actually going to, while I'm lifting my jars out, I'm going to go ahead and take the water that's in the jar and pour it into this pot that I blanched the peaches in. That's got to be washed out anyways before the next step, and you have to keep in mind displacement. So once these jars are full, that will overflow if I kept that much water into it. So let's see. If I can do this without scalding myself. Okay. What? Look at that woman. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pop my jars into the oven to keep them warm and move on. Okay, my peaches are all sliced and ready to go. And I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of lemon juice to my peaches. This is going to keep them from turning brown. It's also going to keep the flavor at its utmost, highest peak of flavor, and just to help the peaches keep holding their shape a bit. So let me just toss this. I use my hands a lot, you guys. My hands are always in the water, either washing something off or washing them to get them into something. But that's why God gave us hands. All right, so there's our peaches ready. Let's go ahead and make our filling. Okay, before I get rapid fire involved with this next process, I want to talk to you real quick about my thickening agent that I'm using. This is not Sure Gel. Just so you know, when I make my apple pie filling or my peach pie filling, I don't use Sure Gel. I use Clear Gel. Let me show you. This is what I get. I get mine off of Amazon. If it's available in a store here in town, I haven't found it yet, and I don't have time to go chasing down something that may not exist locally. So I just order this off of Amazon, and gosh, I don't even remember what it cost. If I can remember, I'll have to pop that into the comments below. But this is just a package that I've had on hand. As you can see, the last time I used it, it was when I made apple jelly, actually. And I wanted a clear jelly. Clear gel is going to make a much prettier end product. You can use your Sure Gel. It's going to be really cloudy and starchy looking. This is a refined starch. Is that what it's called? Modified cornstarch product, and it makes such a pretty clear gel pie filling. So that's what I'm using. All right, next step. Okay, so me personally, I would advise you to do this too if you're going to try doing this. I want everything measured out and ready to go before I start getting things going in my cook pot over there. I've measured out my peaches. I've got 12 cups of sliced peaches, and they're drained. They've created a little bit more liquid, but I'll be pulling them out of there as much as I can. I've got 3/4 of a cup plus 3 tablespoons of Sure Gel measured out. That's 1 tablespoon less than a full cup. I've got my 3 cups of sugar measured out. I've got another 3/4 of a cup of lemon juice, and then this is some the peach juice that I strained off of it prior. After slicing them up, you got all that juice in the bottom of your bowl. I strained some of that out and then filled the rest of it up to where I now have 2 1/4 cups of cold liquid. So this is all ready to go, because once this starts cooking, you're going to have to be continually stirring or getting ready to add it in. You won't have time to start and stop and start and stop. So, all right, let's go do this. Okay, so my pot's ready. It's nice and clean and ready to go. So turning on my heat, I'm going to put in my sugar, my 3 cups of sugar, my 1 tablespoon less of a full cup of Sure Gel, Clear Gel, not Sure Gel, and then my 2 1/4 cups of cold liquid. All right, and I've got my burner on medium high, and what I'm going to do is mix this up and get all those lumps and clumps out here, and then I'm going to cook this and stir it until it is thick and bubbly. And I'm going to get my big whisk here, I think, to stir it up now. I don't know that I would recommend trying this on a glass stovetop. I don't know too much about them. I've never had one. My mom used to have one and she loved it to death, but she never canned on it. And I believe that some of the manufacturers will tell you do not use large canning pans and stuff on them. But if you have one and you cherish it, I wouldn't advise trying it. I really would be a little worried about that. So take all your stuff over to your mama's if she's got a gas stove and do it there. I wish I had a gas stove. That is something for the last 25 years I have not been able to have a gas cooktop. Not that we don't have gas up here, but up here in the Northwest, electricity is super cheap because we have hydroelectric power plants everywhere. And just the houses that I have lived in, both the houses I've owned, and a couple of the rentals that I've lived in since when I first moved up here, it's all had electric stoves in it. I'd rather have gas, absolutely. You have more control over your heat. But after a quarter of a century, you kind of catch on to electric cooking too. So not all is lost. All right, so I'm going to keep stirring this up and waiting for it to start cooking and getting bubbly and thick, and then we'll be back. Okay, so this is getting thicker. Again, this is why I like to have things measured out. You really don't want to step away from the stove for more than just a split second or two. So let me stir this a little bit. I need to turn that down. Alright, so it is slightly thicker, and even if I grabbed my tripod there that you guys are sitting on and held it over the stove, I don't think you could see too much because of the steam, but it's just bubbling away in here and it's thickening up. So now I'm going to add the lemon juice. Oh shoot, look what I just did. Dadgummit. Be prepared. Alright, so now let me, yes, indeed. I'm going to add my 3/4 of a cup of lemon juice, and I'm going to let this cook, constantly stirring it for 1 minute. So set a timer for 1 minute.
Okay, 1 hour and counting.
No. Siri off. Siri, set a timer for 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute and counting.
Man, that guy's an idiot, let me tell you. Okay. So heat back up. I want to keep this bubbling. And stirring this, let that juice cook for 1 minute. Also, right after I stopped the video a little while ago, I realized I didn't put my cinnamon in there, so I've added, before this got thick and bubbly, I went ahead and threw in about a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon, because again, why would you not? Alright, stir this, keep stirring it, you guys. It's trying to stick to the bottom here, and that's not the end result we want. You don't want to scorch that bottom. You don't want to scorch the bottom, you don't want to burn it, because there's no way to take that taste out. If you burn your bottom of your pan, you might as well just throw the whole batch away. Alright, so 1 minute has passed. Stop. Alright, so now I'm going to put my peaches in here, and then once my peaches are in, I'm going to stir those and cook those down for 3 minutes. So, again, they're measured out already. Ooh, thickening nicely. I like that. Alright, and then I don't want to add a whole lot of extra liquid into it, and my peaches have continued to weep a bit while it's waiting for me, so I'm just going to do this old school. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to pick my burner up a bit. Those peaches are a little cold, so I'm going to pick the burner up, keep this nice and warm to where it's going to remain thick, and get these peaches cooked down a bit. 3 minutes. Siri, set a timer for 3 minutes.
I can't set the timer for a spin.
Siri, set a timer for 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes of counting.
Siri sometimes has a hard time understanding me, and I don't know why. I don't have much of an accent anymore, so I don't know what its problem is, but it's aggravating. Okay, so this is thickening up beautifully. Oh my goodness, you guys. Let me show you real quick what we're doing here. Hang on, I'm going to jostle you a bit. Okay, so here's my filling. See how it's thickening and simmering away in there? So we are going to do this for a few more minutes, and then we'll jar it up and can it, and we'll be back then. Okay, so this is where you're going to wish you had an extra set of hands. So I have my peach filling ready to go. My jars are sterile and hot. My water is boiling, so now we got to get to moving on this next step. This is where these little tools come in really, really handy. So I'm going to fill these jars with this hot filling mix, and we're going to leave about 1 inch of room in my jar. Okay. You have to leave it some airspace in there, so that, because it's going to actually create a vacuum inside this jar. Okay, there's my peaches. Now, I actually have a little bit left over, and what I can do with that is I could let that cool down. I'll put that in a freezer bag and pop it in the freezer, and I could make some little hand pies or something with those. I'll figure something out to do with it. But, okay, here we go. I want a little bit more room than what I've got in my jar. So let me just grab a little bit of this off. There we go. All right. Now, you want to make sure you don't have any air bubbles down in there. Again, this is, you want air in here. It's going to create a vacuum, but you don't want the bubbles down underneath in your middle of your jar and the bottom of it. And then have a clean, wet rag or towel here, and make sure that your sides and rims are really clean and well wiped down. Again, you don't want anything to interfere with creating that vacuum seal. That's also why we've got our lids in that real warm water over there. We're softening up that rubber seal, so it's going to for sure set. Alrighty, let's get our lids. And that's where this little magnetic tool is really handy. Almost fell bad. Is you're going to set that on your clean rims. And then put your rings on. And you don't want to clamp these down that tight. You're just going to tighten them to just there. Air's going to be coming out of that, believe it or not. If you could see through the bubbles of the boil, you would see little tiny air bubbles coming out. So, all right, once it's in the bath anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to take my jars and I'm going to set them into my water canner here. Which is, again, I've got that up to a rolling boil. And then I'm just going to set my jars down in here. I've got the rack to keep them off the bottom of the canner. Okay, so our 30 minutes is up. I need to move this and go ahead and turn my stove off. It's been on long enough. And now I'm going to pull my jars out of the bath. So, here's what we're going to do is we're going to listen for that lid to pop. When you hear the pop noise, it's created a vacuum. It can be 2 seconds to 24 hours before that pop happens. So if you've done everything right so far, it will happen. But here we go. So using again my can tongs. Okay. So, what happens next is that you're going to let this cool. As it cools, these contents will reduce just enough to it creates a vacuum, and it will pull this lid down. That's when you hear the pop, and it's sealed. At that point, you could even take the rings off and store it just with the undisturbed lid if you want. I never do, but you can if you want. The hardest part is to leave it alone. Just leave it alone. You'll be able to see, once you're used to seeing, let me try that again. Once you're used to looking for the seal, you kind of can tell if it's sealed or not before you touch it. By tomorrow, I will be able to touch these jar lids and give it a little push, and it will either tell me then that it's sealed or not. If it has give, if it moves up and down, it's not sealed. I'll have to can it and try to get it to seal again. If it's sealed, it'll be tight and it won't move at all, but leave it alone for now. Again, I've made batches of jellies that as soon as I pulled the cans out, you could hear the lid seal. But I've also had food that I have canned, that hasn't sealed until like late at night or the next day. So I'm just going to leave this alone undisturbed for 24 hours. You can set it on a table, you can put it on a dresser out of the room or in a guest room or whatever, but just that's why the trays are nice, because then you can just move the tray, you don't have to keep moving those jars. So that's it. I ended up getting these 3 quarts of pie filling made up, and then what I had left over was actually another quart full. This I can just, I've not prepared the jar the same way. It's not sealed, it hasn't been sterilized, it's just a nice clean jar with a clean lid. And what I can do is I can put this jar in the refrigerator and use it in the next couple of days to make a pie for the menfolk. Or if you had a freezer safe container, whether it's a plastic container or even a freezer bag, you could freeze it for maybe, what, 4 or 6 months, and it would be just fine to use. So that is my pie filling, and these 3 will go down into the basement until later on during the winter, and we want a nice surprise of a treat. And then this one, we'll use this one in the next few days. So let me know what your memories are of the women in your life canning and preparing foods and hoping they had enough to get through till next harvest. So all right guys, it's been fun. I'll see you later.